everyone. We'll give a minute or two for people to start to arrive. It's going to be a big webinar today, lots of people. So we'll give a chance for people to join and then kick off in a minute or two. Fernando, I can't see the number of people who've joined yet, so why don't you just tell me, because I've got share screen, so why don't you just tell me when we think we've got a good quorum?
We have 30 people now.
All right, so give it another minute or two. All right. I think let's get going. There'll be more people to shuffle in, but it's being recorded as well anyway. Welcome everyone to the first of three guidance sessions for the European Microfinance Award 2025. My name's Sam Mendelsohn. I'm Financial Inclusion Specialist at e-MFP, and I've been part of the award team for 11 years now. I'm joined by Fernando, my colleague. And Matt from Microinsurance Network as well. The way we're going to do it today is I'm going to speak for a few minutes about the EMA generally, and then the EMA 2025 specifically, a little intro to some of the materials we have for you, the eligibility, the award process. Then I'm going to hand over to Fernando for 5 to 10 minutes, who's going to walk you through how to actually apply for those of you who haven't seen it yet, how the system works, and the like. Please put questions in the Q&A. This is designed to be a session for us to be able to answer your questions. The chat is open. Fernando will be posting some links there too, but if possible, please try to keep questions that you have in the Q&A. It's easier for us to answer them either in written or to monitor them and work out who should address. So as I said, this is the first of three guidance sessions. We started these 4 or 5 years ago, and they're a big success. We found that it helped applicants, particularly those who don't know us, who don't know the award, how to understand the materials, how the process works, and to be able to answer any questions, a lot of which are on issues of eligibility or the kind of documents that might be asked or which are reasonable to provide those kind of questions. A little intro to e-MFP, who don't know us. e-MFP, formerly known as the European Microfinance Platform. We're a member-based network. We have about 120 members from all geographic regions, specializations. We are the leading network of organizations and individuals active in financial inclusion in developing countries. We foster different activities that increase access to global, sustainable, and inclusive financial services. The award goes back to 2005, so it's been 20 years since it was created. The first one was in 2006 and was every 2 years for the first few, but since 2012 has been an annual award. It was set up by the Luxembourg Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs to promote financial inclusion initiatives and to highlight the innovating contribution in a particular area. So each year, as you may well know, the topic is different. What it always has in common is it seeks to serve two parallel goals: rewarding excellence and collecting and disseminating the most relevant best practices for replication by others. As I said, I've worked on it since 2015 and as an implementer and manager of on the award team since 2018. e-MFP is the lead designer and implementing organization. We oversee all the evaluation and application processes, but we have partners here. The co-organizers are Infine, the Luxembourg Financial Network, and the ministry, and the EIB is a key partner and supporter as well. This year, we're incredibly fortunate to have as a partner the Microinsurance Network. Many of you will know them very well. I think a lot of you will be here because of them as well. This is the first time that we've had the award on a topic that is outside our own sort of core focus, and therefore we're very lucky to have Min. You will all surely know that they launched their 2024 Landscape of Microinsurance a couple of weeks ago, which is a fantastic resource. For those of you who haven't seen it, commend it to you, and delighted to have Matt on here to answer a few questions. So the benefits of the award um, are many. The highlight figure is that it's 100,000 euros to the winner, which is obviously very nice, and 10,000 to each of the two runners up. But the benefits go far beyond this. We really make an effort throughout the year to profile the topic, and then in the subsequent year to profile different organizations. So we do a series of guest blogs. There are videos of the three finalists where Infine sends professional videographers to the three finalists initiatives. We run webinars. We do sessions at European Microfinance Week, including always a plenary. There is a document called the Members Spotlight that we produce where we highlight our members' work in a particular area, and a lot of that will relate to some of the applicants' work. And then there is what we call the flagship output, which is a publication. We call it the annual award publication, which is published in time for European Microfinance Week in November. You can see the cover of last year's one there. The QR code is there if you're interested. This is a team effort. I lead the writing on it, but what it is, it's a series of best practices, but framed across different thematic areas and profiling the 10 semi-finalists. So the final 10, who are from which the three finalists are taken, get in-depth coverage here. It's usually on the FinDev top 10 list. It is widely read. It is widely used as a resource. So there is real value in getting to the last 10, not just getting to the final. So in previous years, the topic has been on everything from post-conflict zones, access to education, housing microfinance, technology, resilience to climate change, savings, access to healthcare, gender, food security, and last year was on possibly displaced people. And this year, as you well know, it's on building resilience through inclusive insurance. The blurb there, which you also will have seen, is, I think, worth repeating because it really describes what we want the focus to be, to highlight organizations that enable low-income and vulnerable people to build resilience and manage risk thanks to inclusive and effective insurance. In many ways, the components of that little blurb you will see as you go through the application form, as it tries to get unpicked, and we look for evidence on each of these things. The application process starts with, there are two parts of the application process, and then there's the subsequent evaluation process. What opened on the last week or 2 weeks ago was round one, and it closes on April 10th. This is the short form. It is designed not to be overly demanding or onerous. The main focus is in the context and challenges in the first part, some institutional data that is fairly basic, and then there's a section on how your organization builds resilience through inclusive insurance. In other words, what is the insurance initiative that is being put forward? There is some product data for financial and non-financial products and services that we asked for, but it is designed mainly as a first filter for eligibility, of course, and a sort of baseline level of innovation and quality. That's what we look for. Those applicants, and we don't know how many we get there, but so far I can tell you that it is on track to be a record field. by some margin, then get evaluated by a committee that is a combination of different consultants and experts and our internal team. This pre-selection committee will select from that number about 30 to 35 that will be invited to go to round two. This is a more complicated and sophisticated form. There would be further questions on the topics that were seen before, but also questions on monitoring, outcomes, lessons learned. We ask at that point for a letter of support from an e-MFP or this year a MIN member. You can ask for our help on how to do that. And the audited financial statements, which are asked for in round one, those that weren't be able to be submitted then have to be by round two. That list is cut down by another committee until it goes to a selection committee of experts in September. That selection committee will choose 10 semi-finalists, as I mentioned, and of them, 3 finalists. Those 3 finalists are evaluated by a high jury at the end of the year during Microfinance Week, and the winner is announced. Excuse me. Just skip through here. One document you will have seen, and Fernando, if you haven't already, could you put it in the chat? But this is available on the EMA website. It will have been, you will have seen it in the various other materials promotions we've done, is a concept note and award guidelines. This is a document that really serves to give an introduction to the topic for an outside audience, but for an internal audience to really clarify what it is we will be looking for and how the award works, and then the actual process stuff at the end. So those sections are, we were very grateful to Min for their significant contribution to this paper. Understanding risk and why insurance matters, what is inclusive insurance, the challenges focused, how it fits into the broader inclusive finance ecosystem, and then about the award eligibility timeline, etc. So please do look at that before you and as you apply. Eligibility, we fully expect to have some questions on this today. We can go into them. If you have questions that are specific to your case, but you don't want to, or this isn't the right time to pose them, there is an email address that is specific for this award. You can send us your questions, your details. We will get back to you with an opinion very quickly. But broadly, we are applicants are eligible if they work in the inclusive insurance sector. This includes, but the list in front of you, but is not exclusive. So would include reinsurers, MFIs, microfinance banks, NBFIs, other types of FSP, insurtechs, brokers or agents, or really any other entities that either directly provide insurance to this segment, or they work sufficiently closely with other partners that do so. That may sound almost like a circular definition. Inclusive insurance is insurance that is inclusive, but it is designed to be interpreted as expansively as we can. We will try to lean towards eligibility where we can, but it has to be decided on a case-by-case basis. Feel free to ask us your questions on that. Second is there must be based and operate in a country that is on a list. That list is in the guidelines, but it's a list that you're probably all quite familiar with, anything from least developed up to upper middle income country. The organization has to be fully operational for at least 2 years, and the initiative has to be operational for at least 1 year. And then there is a prior winners thing that I don't think will be applied to anyone, but basically the winners of the 5 previous awards are not eligible, those that won it between 20 and 24, nor are can they submit initiatives that are broadly the same as have won before. But that is a very narrow issue that's not going to affect anyone here. So on that note, I've gone on a little bit longer than I meant to, but I'm going to hand over in a moment to Fernando. So a quick summary. Round 1 is open, where we'll be looking for an overview, the about the insurance initiative, Fernando is going to walk you through what those questions look like. And we do ask for the 3 audited financial statements, although we have flexibility on that until round 2. Successful applicants will be invited where they have to give more detail, monitoring and outcome, and supporting documentation as well, much of which is optional. So the website, which you've seen many times, is there. The email address that I mentioned is there. So if you want to ask us questions that are specific to your organization. But I think on that note, I'm going to hand over to Fernando now I'm going to stop sharing and he's going to show you what the award system looks like. After that, please do put your questions in Q&A and we'll try and address them. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen now and I will walk you quickly through the process of application. So this is the award system that you find in the link that I just shared on the chat. Then you can just log in here. And if you don't have an account yet, you need to create one. I already have mine, so I'm just going to log in. Password. Okay. So this is the page that you will see once you log in, and then you have all the information about the award. Then you have the relevant documents here, concept note and guidelines that Sam already mentioned. Something important here, you will be able to download the application form, the Word version of the application form, in case you want to work offline. This is possible before you complete the form online, because that's the only way that we will receive the form. Then you start an application and then you can just fill in all the fields. This is divided in 3 sections mainly. So the first one is about the institution. So you will have to, first of all, see if you comply with all the eligibility criteria. Once you make sure about this, you keep going to the institutional information. This is all about your organization, the name, the information about the person who is applying to the award and who will be receiving all the notifications. This is very important. Also, please make sure that you provide a valid email address, phone number, and all the complementary information. Then you will be able to navigate all the application form from this menu on top. As you can see, there are a few questions. As Sam said, it's a short application form. Let's say this version in round 1. Once you finished with your institutional information, you will start telling us about your initiative, your insurance initiative. As you can see, this section is divided in 3 main parts. So, the first one is about the context and challenges that you see in the country or regions where you operate. Then the initiative itself, what you are doing to create or to build resilience through inclusive insurance. And finally, you will tell us about the monitoring strategy that you have in place. But please take into account that this last part, 2C, will be only available in round 2 for those candidates that are invited to round 2. So in round 1, you don't need to worry about this last part of monitoring, just the first 2. Once you complete all the questions about your strategy, your initiative, products and services, you will be able to share your audited financial statements for the last 3 years, as Sam said. This is an important requirement. Please don't forget to do this. There are some exceptions that you can find here. Go through go through the instructions here, also in the guidelines. There are a few exceptions, but in general, this is mandatory. So if you have them available, please upload them. Otherwise, it will be hard to assess your applications. Here you have also some space to tell us in case uh, one of more than your financial statements are not available yet and where you expect to have them. And finally, you have some additional consents. This is the last part of the application form. Once everything is completed, is complete, and you have all the mandatory questions answered, please remember to submit your application, because if you just click on save and close, this will not send your application. So don't forget to submit your applications once it's complete. And yeah, you will receive a notification in the system that this is already done. So that's how you will know that you completed your application. And yeah, if you have any questions, please you can put them on the Q&A, on the chat as well, because it's active.
I think this is a good sign.
I see something on the Q&A actually.
Just
Okay.
says someone saying just thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're welcome. We're a lot of takes a lot of time and careful discussion to get the form as clear as we can. We've improved it each year. So we hope it is. Okay, here we are. I've got a question. The last year financial statements are in Arabic. The English one is not ready yet. In that case, and I assume from that the previous 2 years are in English, but last year's is not yet. That's fine. Please submit the two English ones. If you are successful to go to round two, then we can accept the last one as late as June. So it depends what country you're in and when the financial year ends. But we would hope to have it by June. If by June it is not possible, it's only possible to have the two English and the one Arabic. We can consider a translation options, etc. But hopefully that gives sufficient time for the last one to be provided in English. Thanks.
There's another question too, right?
What if we only have? Yes. I think that's basically the same. That is fine. This often happens because the financial year varies country to country. So please submit those two. And again, we are fine to wait if you are going forward to round two to wait until the early summer, or even then in exceptional cases we could then have it submitted just after before it went to selection committee. But hopefully in our experience, June is enough time to cover most of the financial years, and that hopefully you'd be able to have it by then. But please do submit the first two, because it also helps in the evaluation process. Thanks.
Sam,
Yes,
Sam,
please.
can I just jump in? Hi everyone. Just for I think the same goes for the date when you're providing data on the insurance initiative. If you don't have the data for 2024 yet, make sure you put the data for 2022 and 2023, and then later down the line we can ask for the data.
That reminds me of another point that we neglected to mention, which is if you are if you do go through to round two, you can edit what you put in for round one. So it's not like round one and round two are closed forms. They are different parts of the same aggregate form that would be considered later. So you can, for example, if you only have the data for those 2 years, you would be able to then go back and add later on in round two the 2024 data, and it would still be considered. So, but yeah, absolutely. What other documents do we need to consider along with the AFS? In round one, there's nothing, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Fernando.
Correct.
We will need a letter of support from a EMFP or MIN member later, but that's not till round 2. So again, you have some time. If you don't have a relationship with one of those members, we can match you with one to help out to get that. We've always found a solution to that problem in the past, but there are no other documents that have to be uploaded. Any recommendation?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go on.
Yes.
Antonella, nice to see you, Antonella. Any recommendations or advice in filling the form? Good question. Where the optional questions, you also, of course, have the option of French and Spanish, the awards in 3 languages. There is no preference for English, so obviously fill it in the language which the person is most comfortable. But I would say the biggest thing I have is who is chosen within the organization to fill it in. In my experience, which goes back a long way, hundreds of applicants, you too often an organization will, and this particularly applies to larger organizations, that they delegate the filling of this form to someone comparatively junior when they try to do just perfunctory quality control themselves. So it gets handed down to someone who only has a narrow view of the organization and maybe doesn't feel comfortable or confident enough to go to the relevant people to say, I need a bit of text on this. Can you explain why this issue matters? The more senior person in the organization with a more global view of the initiative and the history is going to be able to answer better. So I would say resist the temptation to shunt it down to an intern and take the time, that someone at a higher level in the organization to do it would be better. Fernando, anything else you can think of in terms of advice?
I would say that please keep in mind the goals of the award, that one is highlight the best practices, and the other one something to showcase so these practices can be replicated. I think these 2 ideas will for sure help you develop the application. There are other questions, Sam.
Well, hang on. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you want to.
I was going to say, and the advice as well, it will depend year to year on the different topics. So some advice is perhaps less applicable this year, but we would in the past a bit of feedback between round 1 and 2. For example, if there are many different elements of an initiative, for example, an initiative on healthcare, but there is one that is standout innovative, standout interesting, then we've tried to guide towards that in round 2, the focus should be more on that product or whatever. So in an insurance context, if you are, let's say, a distribution partner, an MFI, and you've got 3 or 4 different types of insurance products, I would say try to, by all means, mention them, list them, the data on all of them, but focus on what you really think is innovative, what is special, what is cutting edge, what is harder, and why. And when it gets to the questions on things you would have done different, lessons learned in round 2, be honest about your failings. I would say as a judge, I've always appreciated that. Okay, so that was Manzoor, last financial statement. I think we've covered that. What can a draft version be submitted? Not sure what you mean by, if you mean can you edit it after you've submitted? No, you can save it as you go. You can take the next couple of weeks to fill it out. Just when you finish a page or whatever, you can save it and you can come back to it. But once it won't be submitted until you submit, and once you submitted, it is submitted. There's no going back. With the caveat of what I said before, if you do go to round 2, then your round 1 form is effectively reopened and you have an opportunity to expand on things, clarify, add, change, really in any way you want. Okay, we have a question on 112, currency and total assets. What are we supposed to insert there? The total sum insured, premium. Perhaps I can hand this one over to Matthew.
Yes, of course. Otherwise, it's just Just if I
Or
could say something, yes, it's just the currency, of course, is just straightforward, and the total assets is about the whole organization. So it's not only insurance products. So this is just to have an idea of the total assets of your institution as a whole.
yes, currency is currency unit, isn't it? Right, Fernando?
Yes, yes.
So
With the symbol, first you have the field for the symbol, and then
yep,
you have the field for the exchange rate compared to euros in each specific year. So you
yep.
have three fields, yes.
Um, so you can get back to us with an individual question by email if that's not clear. But yes, section one is institutional data overall. Now, for some organizations, for insurers, then that may effectively be the same as the data that you are submitting later, specifically on insurance. But we fully expect many applicants to be FSPs that offer variety of different financial products and services outside of insurance. So for them, this is a global look at the institution on assets. There are questions on insurance products later on, and then in round two there are questions on insurance ratios and the like as well.
I don't need to add anything to that. That's good.
Rory from Vision Fund, looking at 110, I wanted to, as in microfinance network, want to be sure on how we complete the client data. Are you look only at data on insurance clients? Okay, I think that's covered. So yes, in section one, it's all clients. Later, there are questions specifically on insurance. If you feel that we've designed the form to be as widely applicable and equally applicable for all types of organizations, if you feel that it doesn't fit and you're really not sure, yes, again, please email us. And then we've got other colleagues as well. We'll get their opinions and we will get back to you fast on how best to do that.
Mhm.
Can I just
Yeah.
jump in here, Sam? Yeah, just about Vision Fund. So the one thing that you need to take into account is the organization need to be based in the countries, the list of countries that Sam shared prior. So as Vision Fund, as a network of microfinance institutions, your headquarters, I think, are based in the States or in Europe. And therefore, I'm not sure that, as the network itself is eligible, but your individual partners, member organizations would be.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. We have this every year because we get entities from Vision, from Opportunity often. It would need to be really the local partner, the local entity, not the parent that applies for eligibility. So, for example, we've had Vision Fund Uganda last year. In fact, was a semi-finalist. They are eligible, but VFI is probably not.
Which I must say is a bit of a shame, because I know Vision Fund have a program that is kind of overarching all their members. But this, I guess, it's something that we've had to put in place.
That's largely out of our control, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our financial year ends in March, and the results are normally announced in July. Is it we sent 9 months unaudited results? At this stage, the answer is yes for round one. If I understand, then you would have 2 years of audited and 9 months unaudited. Strictly, that is not permissible. However, there may be a ad hoc solution we could find. For example, if you were to get some sort of countersign or attestation for the 9 months unaudited, we might be able to. So for now, I would say yes, we will do our very, very best to make that work. We understand if you're constrained by an unusual financial year, which that is Sri Lanka maybe, then we'll do our best. So please do apply. What other benefits come along to both the award and the winners? There are a lot. They are listed in the guidelines. There is a whole bunch of promotion in different publications. The finalists get, of course, additional ones. There are several that come in and around Microfinance Week, but then in the following year we do follow-up events, profiles. Just last month in London, we did an event with the Financial Inclusion Forum where we profiled the semi-finalists of the previous year. So there is a lot of way that they will reach different eyes of investors, of TA providers, DFIs, donors, the like. But that list is fairly well expanded in the guidelines. Rory, follow up. Total assets, what is that referring to, please? Lastly, financial year 2024 is the calendar year. Is financial year 2024 referring to the calendar year? No, I think it's fiscal year 2024,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
So it's the fiscal year ending in 2024, which for a lot of places is April or June, but not all. But again, we will be as flexible as we possibly can. Just send as much as you can. Total assets, what's that referring to? I mean, that's really going to depend on the type of organization, right? Again, I don't think total assets for the whole network is going to be the right one because it would need to be part of the network that applies. But I mean,
Yes.
Go on.
Sam, just one more thing because I wanted to clarify Rory's question. Thank you for everyone who might have the same question. Are questions 1.11 and 12, actually 10, 11, and 12, are about the whole organization. So this includes all your products. For example, if you have the information about how many women clients, how many clients below the poverty line. All this is all about the organization. Yeah. If there are specific questions about insurance, you will find them as well. So you will see in parentheses this is only for your insurance products. Otherwise, is for the organization as a whole.
Yep. Section 1 is really to give the evaluators a flavor, a sense of what type of an organization you are. It is not strictly evaluated in the way that the later ones are. So they're on like particular insurance products and the like. We just need to know what type of organization this is because, what can you expect from an organization of different size, different how old it is, how much outreach it has. We have different kinds of insurance products with different partners. Should we mention all these? Yes, please. In the open-ended text, I would say absolutely. We've given the space to be able to mention it all. By all means, use bullet points. It just doesn't have to be written longhand if you don't. If it's suitable, please use bullets as long as there is clarity. Do be expansive in mentioning them all. When it comes to the number of the product data, we ask for a top 3, right, Fernando? So
Yes.
if you do have several different initiatives, we'll ask you to focus on 3 in terms of the data you're providing. You could choose them as you wish, but I would suggest focusing on both a combination of innovation and outreach. But that's going to be your own decision on what do you think is profile. But I would say mention them all in the open section because there will be scope in round 2 to expand further on them. And organizations that do many things well are always going to do well. Should we focus on?
Just to jump in there again, just to add to what you were saying, to focus those products on scale and innovation, I would add also value to that. So ensuring that the product is bringing value to the client. So I would focus on take those criteria when choosing which products that you want to kind of highlight, the 3 that you want to highlight: scale, innovation, and value.
Should we focus on one initiative or more than one? I think I've covered that. It depends what you define by initiative. Do you have different insurance initiatives or are they different product offerings? But if if we're talking about different types of insurance products, like was mentioned in the previous question, please do mention them all. There is scoring model and indicators for round 1. There is, but that's on our side. If I think you're asking about the weighting of the different questions there, because round one is pretty much a gateway. It's so we obviously assess eligibility. The judges will then provide only a couple of scores on the sections on context and challenges and about the initiative, and then there's effectively a discretionary score that will use the judges' discretion on innovation, replicability. Basically, it's is there enough here that we want to know more in round two, and then there is a definitely yes, probably no, definitely no. And then in the committee, we try to build consensus, and if not voting from there. So there is some scoring. In the round two, there is the questions are weighted, but again, that's not something that is seen by the applicants. But you can probably infer from things like the number of questions on a topic or the word count given to you, how they are prioritized in the evaluation grid. But again, the evaluation grid is only indicative. It's used by the committee to discuss and weigh and build consensus. It's not like a score comes out and that's the cutoff of who gets through to the next stage. This is done by discussion and consensus building, and always has been. And in my opinion, it is the best part of the award, is that that it's a process and not just scoring. There are certain questions like ratios which are relevant to insurance companies. As we're an insurtech, do we need to answer these across what is happening on the platform? There are questions that are designed to be only for those who can provide them. If you're an insurtech, it's not required that you would answer, say, client level data. However, we would encourage you, if you can get that from relevant partners, to do so. Matthew or Fernando, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I think that's you answered it quite well. I think the idea here is to put, if you can get the data to add the data to the application form. If it's not possible, it's not possible, and that will be taken into account the type of organization that you are, of course.
Okay. So we use the currency specific country and then put the comparative exchange rate as well. Yes. So if it's if you're in Vietnam, you put VDG or whatever the 3-letter currency for Vietnamese dong is, for example, and I'm using this as an extreme example, it would be 0.000053 to the euro, because that's the ratio of a very weak currency to the euro. If it was a stronger currency than the euro, like pound sterling, for example, it would be 1.2. But yes, the currency code and then the ratio to the euro, please. If you have further questions, email us on that. But we've done some sort of capture on this every year for many, many years, and it does work. Also, if you've got it wrong, for example, if you've got the numerator and the denominator the wrong way around, we can always tell, so we can adjust for it. If you've made a mistake by getting the ratio inverted, we'll be able to work it out. But please try to make it clear. On the type of organization, if we are categorized as microinsurance stroke mutual benefits association, would it be okay if we check the insurance company option? Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that's the best option. Yep. That would be there.
Yeah. The type of organization isn't evaluated. We use it when we do our press releases about the award to show distribution of organization types, but it's not going to count against you if you ticked the less optimal box. It's really for how we talk about the applicant field. For insurers with various insurance products, if we only include one particular product, do we have to submit data of other product offerings or just that of the nominated product initiative? I would say the answer is if you choose to focus on one product, then you only have to submit data on one product. I'm applying from Yemen, and in my country there are two FX rate, market and central bank. I don't know the answer to that. You know what? I think that might be a question for Daniel, who's not here, unless Matthew, you want to say something?
Sorry, I think you skipped a question. I didn't see.
I'm on Asil Al Marabi's at 9:34.
There's a previous question. Should non-financial services be quantified, or is measuring each sufficient?
I don't see it, but it's good if you see it.
No. So it's the one above. It's the one above that. Maybe your order is different. It doesn't matter. But okay. So on the FX one, I don't know the answer to that. Could I ask you to email us with that question? We will call in. We'll pull in my colleague Daniel on that, and we will get back to you straight away. Because I generally don't know how to answer that. Thanks. Should non-financial services be quantified, or is measuring reach sufficient? I'm not sure I understand what by quantified or measuring reach, as in how many people were benefited from a training or something. I'm not sure. And do you understand, Matthew?
Not totally. I think the idea with the non-financial services, what we want to see there is, what services are available and how many people are benefiting from those services, or how many people use those services.
Yeah, and so so there'll be a relative outreach and absolute, of course. If you've got 100,000 insurance clients and 250 people benefited from non-financial services, that would be low in sort of relative scale. So we want to see not only that they are appropriate to support the insurance products, but that there's uptake of them, that they're actually being used. But there is an open-ended section there. There's a table. I think there's enough there for it to be clear. If a company has taken initiative on climate resilience and the insurance product implemented on the ground is in pilot phase for overall clients, start of execution, and there is no climate shock seen, so therefore no claims ratio, will this negatively impact the application? That's an interesting question.
No, it's something that we talked about when we were discussing claims ratio and agricultural climate products. This is something that we'll take into account. It's very we understand that with these types of products, there can be a period of 2, 3 years, 4 years where there may be no claims because there was no weather event and so forth. And then the year where there is a claim, the claims ratio is enormous. So this will be taken into account when we're analysing it, knowing that that if it's a climate insurance product and there hasn't been any climate shocks and the claims ratio will be low, that's something that we'll take into account and is understandable.
Caroline says, I didn't get what you said about VFI. Can you come again on that? Basically, it's on eligibility that the applicant has to be operated and based in a eligible country. VFI, as far as I know, is US based. The US is not eligible, which is why in the past, Vision Fund have applied several times over the year for different awards. So have opportunities, so have other networks, but it's one of the country entities that applies, not the parent group. If that's still not clear, send us an email to the email. And we'll try and be clearer, but it's just where the entity is based. Where to get info for submission of proposal? I think that's been covered, just go to the European Microfinance Award website. We may not have disaggregated data asked in this section, particularly the last two, what is to be done. We understand that, you mean disaggregated by insurance product? Oh, sorry, 111.
So client data.
Oh, we understand that some organizations have access to data that others don't, particularly if you are small, if you're an NGO, if you are young, then we will apply differentiated expectations of what's reasonable. Please just give us what you have. Those are not optional. Sorry, those are optional. They are also not strictly assessed as such. They are to give a sense of the organization. Just give us what you have. Rory, this is back to VFI, I think. Thanks for that. Yes, this is what I was asking, if we're including an MFI's credit savings. Okay, good. Thanks on the, yep, good. Do you mean this is regarding the organization and not related to insurance clients? I think
the first part, yes.
So section 1, and I think it is clear when you get a chance to look deeply into the form, that section 1, 110, 111, 112 are an overall organization. So for an MFI, that is going to be all clients. If you are an insurer that is directly providing insurance to clients, and I don't know how common that would be, then it may end up being the same. But section 2 has the product, the insurance related data that we ask for, a sort of number of clients, number of people insured, etc., policies. And section 1 is about the organization as a whole. 111 is client data, as the text says. Okay. How important is the size of the institution? Do you favor smaller initiatives? Great question. We neither favor large nor small. Over the years, we've had tiny organizations that are doing so much, that are growing, innovating, but their outreach is small in real terms, but there is so much potential there, and they have been looked very favorably. There have been large organizations that are reaching hundreds of thousands, even millions of clients, but which seem stagnant and have been looked on unfavorably. So you are not in any way disadvantaged by being small. It's what you're doing with it, I suppose. There probably is a minimum outreach. I don't know what that would be, but if it was so small that it would be under that, then it probably would fall foul of the 2-year operational requirement anyway. So hi, Marja. I didn't see who the question was from. So small organizations are encouraged to apply. It will be looking for innovation rather than pure outreach. Mohammed, glad to meet you. Mohammed from BRAC Microfinance Bangladesh. In question 111, what's the date range for the client data by segment? Shall we provide data till the date or up to financial year 2024? Fernando, what have we done in the past with that?
It's the most recent data that you have. Yeah, if you have it up to 2024, please go ahead. Otherwise, if it's just not possible, 2023 will be accepted.
Yeah, that's right. But again, it's not assessed. It is so give us what you can, but it is just so that we can kick off the assessment process by understanding who you are. I mean, we know BRAC Microfinance, so that's less of an issue than it might be with others. We're not an insurance company, but we work in the space. What should we select as type of organization? And should we also focus on an innovative solution we implement? That's hard to say without knowing what you are. If you work in the space, maybe a TA provider or something like that. I don't know.
There is always the other option, and then you can.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that's right. There is other, in which case you can say, but I would think that most organizations are going to fit in the list. It's a pretty expensive list. If you're a TA provider or a tech company or an MNO or anything else, then it should be covered. But by all means, put other. And yes, if you're going to do so, focus on whatever your innovative solution is. I can't be more specific than that without knowing more. If an insurance product still is in pilot phase, yes, but as we said, the initiative is supposed to be a year old. Now, pilots have different lengths. If it is, let's say, we've had cases in the past where it's not quite a year old, and where an organization is more than 2 years old, the pilot is not quite a year old at the time of application, but we've rounded up a little bit to think adding on the time for evaluation and stuff like that. So look, if you started it 2 months ago, then no. But if it's 9 or 10 or 11 months old, then since it was started, then yes, please do apply and we will do what we can. An example of a successful filled-in application for round one can share with us. No, we've been asked this before. We've decided not to do it. For one thing, we would have to redact a lot of information. There are lots of different ways that a form can be filled in successfully, but take the time to do it expansively, collect the data and get it filled in by, or at least consult with the person who has the best overall look, so that the information is there.
Also because it's a confidential,
There's plenty of, we'd have to redact confidential information, exactly. So financial year runs from April to March. Audited will not be available, but yes, you can upload an unaudited financial report in round one, and then in round two, by round two, you would have the audited, and then you can resubmit the third one. That's fine. We have different products with different financial services. Can we share? Yes, you can share. You can write about them all, and you can share data on 3 different insurance products. Are insurance solutions addressing nature and biodiversity risks eligible? Yes. There was an email from PMN. Thank you. Do ratios need to be uploaded separately for each product, such as life, health, and livestock insurance? That's a section 3 question. That's only round 2, right? The ratios, Matthew?
I believe so, and it would be by product type.
Yes.
Product.
By product type, not necessarily by product.
Actually, sorry, by product. Yeah, it would be per product. So the ratios that we ask for are the top 3 products that you want to put forward, and then we've got ratios for each individual product.
But so there's the section 3 questions are all in round 2. Don't need to worry about that for now. There'll be further information, but that's where. But then in round 1, we ask for number of policies, number of people insured for each of your up to 3 main products, and then by product, if you do up to 3, then yes, there are a few different ratios. So let's say you have a health insurance product A. We ask for the incurred expense ratio, claims ratio, rejection ratio, renewal ratio for that, and then same for the other products. Our team is based in Kenya, but we work in 9 markets. We can use the Kenyan entity as headquarters, but want to showcase. Yes, this happens. We don't want to disadvantage organizations that have successfully grown to different eligible markets, and nor can we expect you to submit 9 different applications, nor would we want that. So yes, by all means, submit the Kenya one, but make sure in the text, when you talk about both the context, the history of the growth of the initiative, and what you're doing, that you talk about the different markets and how it's came to be that it has expanded like that. That will be very well received, I promise you. Is the list of eligible institutions in the presentation? If not, can we have it? So, well, in the guidelines and on the site, you'll see the eligibility requirements. The list of countries is there. There's a link to click. It's called the DAC list. It's also in the chat somewhere.
Yes.
Fernando at 10:14, he posted that. That is the list of countries that's eligible. In terms of organization types that are eligible, as I said at the start, we will be very expansive. So if you are working in inclusive insurance, we will presume that you are eligible unless we can see a reason that you're not.
And on page 9 of the guidelines, you have the types of institutions as well. And we
Yes.
have last question, Sam, right?
Yeah, we'll do one last question and then we're going to finish here. We've never had this many questions. It's just great. This vindicates doing this, and I'm grateful to have Matthew here as well. MFI is an extension of a commercial bank. We run microinsurance in the institution. We have AFS for 2023. Are we submitting it for the MFI or the commercial bank? Okay, so the 2024 AFS not being ready, we've covered that. You can submit that later. Are we submitting the MFI or the commercial bank? We run microinsurance in the institution. I think you mean within the MFI, and I would say submit that. I would say focus on the more narrow rather than the bank.
Yes.
And that's fine. Okay, final question. If insurance product is bundled as a mandatory component with a loan, will this have any impact on the evaluation process? Does the IMP give preference to voluntary insurance products? I will say that we understand that a large number, if not the dominant model, is for bundled mandatory products in this sector. So it's definitely not going to be negative penalized, but maybe that there would be that voluntary insurance shows some benefits over and above. Matthew, is that right?
I mean, I would agree. You know, it's normal that products are bundled with other financial services, and it's not going to be, you know, detrimental to the application that this is the case. You know, if anything, it's more efficient, and it makes a lot of sense to bundle products with other services. So it's not going to be detrimental.
But if the idea is a graduation process to get clients accustomed to insurance through bundling and through mandatory, but there is a planned strategic vision to transition towards voluntary insurance, that would be looked very favorably upon. And there'll be scope. There'll be scope to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe just adding, you know, making sure that the product is, you know, of real value to the clients, and isn't, you know, offers real value to the clients and isn't just an add-on to a service. Like, for example, many credit life products in the past were just, you know, an add-on to the credit that the client wasn't totally aware of.
Right. Then we're at the end of the hour. That was a lot of questions. Glad to be able to answer them. I understand that we'll be expecting some emails, so we will address them as well. Thank you so much. There are 2 more sessions. If your colleagues would prefer the Spanish or the French versions of this, Fernando will be running them. They are, can you remind us?
Sure, yes. Today at 4 p.m. set, and tomorrow the Spanish one, and tomorrow at 4 p.m. set the French one.
Okay. Thank you all. We encourage you to apply. This is a great award. We're very proud of it, and we're delighted to be able to really give attention to this topic after so many years of waiting, and to have Min as a partner for this. So thanks very much. We look forward to hearing from you, and have a nice rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Fernando.